Hello, happy 11th day of Starlight. I still have a cold, but that's okay. We're powering through this. I'm actually doing the last 2 days on Christmas Eve because I never got around to properly catching up. But that's okay. It's the holidays. We can slack off a bit. Especially this year, am I right? For what would have been the 11th day, I'm going to first off give a Starlight shout out to Fivionda, the artist who did the work for the cover and designed the chapter header logo for Seed the Beginning, not to mention who does a ton of amazing work, absolutely a staple in the KupoCon community, who you should check out. And I have provided some links as always. Today's video is just going to be me talking about why I am so obsessed with Final Fantasy VIII. And really, this is going to be a bit shorter than you might think. Because I understand that Final Fantasy VIII is a game with many inherent flaws. I am not blind to them. Yes, I know the junction system needed work. I am aware that how easy it is to break the game using limit break spamming GFs is a little tedious. I know the level scaling didn't quite work the way they thought it was going to work. But that gameplay isn't necessarily unfun as it is unbalanced. I actually quite enjoy it because I do kind of like that if you're diligent, you can basically break the game from disc 1. But that's not even the main reason I play it, because I'll say right now, as far as Final Fantasy goes, there are many better combat systems than Final Fantasy VIII's. But Final Fantasy VIII's entire world feel and story just really sticks with me. And I've described it before, what I think really sticks out to me the most is the fact that this is a game that really feels like it's for us. Essentially, the story, the main crux of it as a love story, is that you're never too damaged to be deserving of love. Because you have to look at our characters. I mean, first off, Squall is obvious. He's damaged, emotionally detached. He's got trauma from his childhood he's still working out. And he closes himself off, and he's distant and hard to deal with, and kind of an asshole, honestly, from disc 1 and disc 2-ish. He softens up a bit, obviously. But none of our characters, honestly, start off being super likable, with the exception of Selphie, I would say. Selphie has this hyper bubbly energy, but you know, she goes full giggling J-pop creature and can honestly become a little bit annoying. Zell is, you know, the musclehead, loud Boy Scout type, kind of a goody two-shoes. Quistis, while she is my favorite person in the entire FF8 game, apart from Laguna, she has kind of a weird vibe about her. She's hitting on her student, which is probably not cool. I still think Squall is stupid for not going for it, but, you know, that's just me. But you know, we find out that Quistis is dealing with kind of emotional struggles as far as how she relates to Squall and to Cypher, actually. And as far as Rinoa, well, Rinoa is this naive, spoiled little rich kid who is idealistic, who thinks that she can just, you know, do a couple of little magic things and boom, she'll have a revolution. And Irvin, do I even gotta say he's like a massive pervert, who is just constantly hitting on everybody, extremely creepily. What I'm getting at, this is not character assassination in the podcast. What I'm getting at is that all of these characters intentionally start with their flaws front-loaded. Because I feel like, especially as teenagers, that's kind of how we are. When you're that age and you're not really emotionally developed, much less with all the stress going on in their world of a looming world war, essentially. That you are damaged people, and that at first glance, a lot of people will only see the bad in you, will only see the worst traits. They'll look at you and say, wow, that annoys me, without looking deeper, without looking inside of you and seeing what good you have that you, especially as a teenager, may not have had a chance to fully express, to fully flourish. I mean, when I was a teenager, I'm going to be honest, I personally was kind of a garbage fire of a human. This is why this one really got to me as a kid, because, man, I was weird, I was nerdy, I was definitely not emotionally and mentally developed, because, you know, I was a teenager. That's kind of the package deal. But this game has all these characters who are initially kind of rough, but then we see them grow up, we see them develop, we see them mature into adults throughout the course of their quest, and we see each of them not just get better as people, but also learn to find love and acceptance. In the case of Squall and Rinoa, it's actual romantic love, and for everyone else, it's kinship, it's family. It's about friendship, courage, and love, as Laguna would so eloquently put it. And I think that alone is one of the main reasons that this story sticks with me, and why it's one that I so desperately wanted to write down. Because I don't think we really get a Final Fantasy that front loads the flaws like that so that you can work past them. The closest we have to that, I would say, is with Cecil in Final Fantasy IV, who, I think he's my favorite character in the series, because he has to redeem himself for some massive, massive sins, and that's a story we don't get enough of. Especially not with them being the main protagonist. Usually that role is devoted to like a side character. And in modern games, you have the hard-ass character who softens, but not in the same way. Lightning, I think, stands out here, because Lightning was kind of a hard-ass, a little emotionally distant, but I wouldn't ever say that her arc was revolving around her character flaw. It evolved because she learned to kind of deal with the people around her, particularly Snow. But I don't think we ever again got that. You need to... It's not even a change, because I don't want to say that the characters in it actually changed. They grew up, they matured, they learned how to handle themselves better. We don't see Squall suddenly become Mr. Sunshine, you know? He's still a little distant, he still has some of the trauma that he's dealing with, but he softens up, he rounds out those edges. Zell is still the goody two-shoes musclehead, but, you know, he learns to, you know, be mature and not constantly bombastic the entire time. Quistis kind of gets her head straight as far as how she relates to Squall. She kind of gets that early on, honestly. With this too, she's pretty much static after that point. And of course, Rinoa has a pretty rude awakening at the end of Disc 1, and then Disc 2. Rinoa has a rough time in 8. I don't know if you know this, guys. Rinoa has a pretty rough journey in FF8. But because of that, we see that while she never loses the idealism that drives her, she tempers it with experience. And I think that is brilliantly done and doesn't get talked about enough. I think, because everyone says, you know, FF8 is a love story. It's the Hollywood action movie love story combination that they wanted to make. But when we're looking at these characters, we're seeing something that's really special, and that to me is the main reason I've stuck with 8 for so long, and why when I'm writing it, I am having the Guardian Force in Squall's head, who will change from book to book, by the way, kind of represent different phases of maturing. they're sort of like his inner thoughts personified, which also plays well into the whole memory loss subplot, by the way. Essentially, at this point with Ifrit is kind of his darker Faustian impulses of like, are you good enough? Can you, like, what are you willing to trade in order to get stronger? Because that's all you care about right now. And he plays kind of like the role of basically a devil on your shoulder. I'm planning to, in book 2, have him actually take Diablos, and that's when we're going to see not just like the challenging hard-ass dad of Ifrit, but some of the self-loathing and regret, and that's where we're going to start seeing him kind of process exactly what happened to him, especially when he meets Elone. But that's me rambling ahead and getting ahead of myself. And as far as Disc 3, well, you could probably guess, but I'll leave it a surprise anyways. Apart from that, I mean, because that story is the main reason I follow 8 so much. There's other things that I love about the game. I like the aesthetics. I love the action sequences and the missions. I'm a sucker for briefings. I love reading them. I love writing them. I love the idea of going through the motions of setting up a mission and then engaging in that mission. That's always fun to me. And I love the fact that FF8's world is so perfectly modern that it feels like it could be my world. I can, we have trains in my world. We have these cities. We have card games and magazines. All those are great. All those are things that I love about the game, but the thing that carries me through it, and the thing that makes you say to this day, it's my favorite, is that story we get. And it's an important message, especially around this time of the year. If you need that personal reassurance, like I did when I was a teenager, that, there's nothing wrong with you, you are not broken, and if anybody young is listening to this, I don't know who would be watching this, honestly, but you're not broken. You have maybe a couple of kinks to work out in your personality, but nobody is too damaged to be loved. And the thing is, and equally important, it's not about fixing you. It's about learning to mesh your personality and your uniqueness with the world around you. It's learning how to, as I said before, sort of round out those edges a little bit. And, everybody's on their own journey, right? So, anyways, that's me playing armchair psychiatrist enough, I think. I will wrap this up here because I am dying, as you can tell. Once again, special Starlight shout out to Viviana, amazing artist. Check her out. As with everybody this Starlight season, give him a watch. Give him a watch. I said that's a word. Check them out. My Patreon nights, as usual: Matthew Caveat Zealot, MJ Gallagher, Robin Bears, Robert Molt, Jonathan Myrie, and my Knight Emeritus, Kaylee Henderson. Thank you guys so much, and it's Christmas Eve, y'all, so I hope you have time today to spend with family or friends safely, quarantine permitting. And if you can't be with them in person, hopefully you can get like a Zoom call in or something like that. And if you can't, I still wish you the best holiday season that you can have. I guess that's it for now, guys, and there is one more video on the way. Much love, you guys.